IGEPHA im Gespräch. Der Podcast der Austrian Self Care Association.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of IGEPHA im Gespräch, the podcast of the Austrian Self Care Association. My name is Christina Nageler. I am the Managing Director of IGEPHA. In the current podcast season, we are discussing a topic that affects us all in various aspects of life. With experts in health and technology, I will talk about the potentials and challenges of artificial intelligence. The rapid technological development of AI tools plays a significant role in self-care and beyond. On one hand, chat tools like ChatGPT provide consumers with low threshold and easy to understand information on health topics. On the other hand, AI solutions offer pharmaceutical companies opportunities for efficiency improvements and new workflows in various areas. It is interesting to ask how large organizations in the healthcare sector use technologies for new services. And I'm very pleased to welcome a true insider in the field of AI to the IGEPHA podcast studio today, namely Thomas Heil. Welcome, Thomas. Great to have you here in our podcast.
Hi, Christina, and thank you for having me here.
Before we start, let me introduce my guest more closely. Thomas Heil is Vice President of Consumer Health, leads the business unit at IQVIA that deals with over-the-counter products. This includes OTC medicines, cosmetics, consumer goods, diagnostics, and dietary supplements. Thomas Heil has been with IQVIA for 20 years in various national and global roles. During his business administration studies, he worked for various brand manufacturers, pharmaceutical companies, market research institutes, and a major consulting firm before taking on a senior role at Nielsen, from which he eventually moved to today's IQVIA, which was then called IMS Health. Thomas, how has AI and machine learning developed over the past years, and how is IQVIA using AI?
Yeah, first of all, I think we need to be aware that artificial intelligence is not new. The research in this space started in the 1950s, and machine learning algorithms, which have the ability to learn without explicitly programmed, are available since the 1980s. So IQVIA is using machine learning for many years now, and I can share some examples where we use it in Austria, Germany, and several other countries. So one of our key services to the self-care industry is the provision of data coming from a pharmacy panel. And although we usually have the largest pharmacy panels in these countries, the data still requires a projection to represent the universe. In Austria, we are using more than 250 different attributes, which are describing every pharmacy regarding its location, the socio-demographic structure of the people living in this area, the number of doctors in the neighborhood, and many other parameters. For our projection, we are then combining the sellout data of our panel pharmacies at category level with these attributes to assess correlations using a Huff gravity model and a random forest algorithm. So this is for the data scientists listening to this podcast. The findings of these analyses are then applied to those pharmacies which are not part of our panel to estimate their sales.
I've actually never thought about that this is AI as well. We're just thinking of ChatGPT and all the other cool stuff.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
But how can the self-care industry benefit from these types of analytics?
Yeah, we have experienced very strong results using these machine learning algorithms for many years now. And self-care manufacturers are benefiting from very precise estimations of pharmacy potentials, which are supporting their targeting on a daily basis, especially for the field force. Nevertheless, These types of analytics are done by data scientists in a laboratory setting, which means that they are complex and need to be run by real experts. And what we see now with the new so-called deep learning algorithms is that more people are able to get access to this type of artificial intelligence. And this is why it's now coming into the media, as you mentioned, and everyone is talking about it. And these deep learning algorithms started around 2010, and these are artificial neural networks which adapt and learn from vast amounts of data. So the most prominent tools in this space are ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, and Google Bird. These so-called large language models are able to listen and speak to the user interactively, which makes it very easy to use them. This, I would call it, democratization of artificial intelligence has been a breakthrough. And that's the reason why everyone is now talking about artificial intelligence today, especially generative AI, which is creating text or images or videos based on the prompt of a user who does not need to be an AI expert.
What do you say? How can self-care companies then use the generative AI?
Use cases for generative AI exist predominantly when text needs to get analyzed and or generated. This could be things like literature research, for example, in the area of market access policy, but also value dossier creation, field rep support, analyzing CRM data, analysis of primary market research results, or the generation of marketing material, for example, a website or an advertisement. When we look at the projects that we have conducted so far with clients, we are seeing significant gains in productivity, time savings, and sometimes new capabilities, which means something that was not possible before, but is possible now.
What uncertainties or limitations are there with generative AI, such as hallucinations? We've heard about it in other podcasts, or generalized data and security.
Yeah, I think this is an excellent question, Christina, because the public media is focusing either on the potential benefits of this technology or the potential implications on our society, like a potential loss of jobs, etc. But there's sometimes very little discussion about the limitations of generative AI, especially those tools which are publicly available. Given that we are working in healthcare, which is a very sensitive industry, when we at IQVIA are using, for example, ChatGPT to write something to a patient, it has to be based on solid data and it needs to be 100% correct. In fact, chatbots, which are used for communication with patients or healthcare professionals, require the registration as a medical device. So this is very different from other industries, obviously. And what we see is that publicly available tools have usually been trained on generalized data, which can be unreliable or come from a biased source or could have copyright issues. Instead, our industry needs data which is fit for purpose, rigorously cleaned, and with a clear reference to a reliable source. Another issue you mentioned are hallucinations. Unsophisticated prompts can lead to unreliable outputs, but even with expert usage, large language models can create fake information. The Nature journal published several cases last year where ChatGPT generated fake data sets to support a scientific hypothesis. I remember another case where it invented medical data when analyzing an electronic medical record. So in this example, a body mass index was given in the summary of ChatGPT, where only the weight of the patient was given in the input data, but not the height of the patient. So the tool invented the body mass index, although it was not really mentioned in or available in the electronic medical record itself. to mitigate hallucinations, we recommend to use tools where healthcare experts pre-trained the models. I think one key aspect is that only good input data will lead to good results in our industry. And finally, most AI tools are not designed to comply with our sometimes very complex regulatory frameworks and the differences between different countries. Healthcare organizations require regulatory compliant data sources.
And what could be the solution to these challenges? Do you have an answer for our audience?
Of course I have.
Of course.
And since publicly open tools are not secure, in our opinion, we recommend using a system which has access to proprietary data and data management rules. In addition to public information, a firewall is obviously required to avoid that your own data becomes accessible outside your organization. And it is important that the solution is compliant to regulations like GDPR, the EU AI Act, etc. At IQVIA, we call this healthcare grade AI, which means that the AI applications which are currently developed by IQVIA will work with specialized data. They will hopefully not have hallucinations, and they will be compliant to the high regulatory requirements in our very special industry.
So you already offer this IQVIA AI, or is this on the go?
Yeah, it's currently under development. We are now seeing the first use cases and the first tools currently being developed. So demo versions are already available, and we have already made the first implementations with clients. But we expect the launch of specialized tools during the third quarter of this year, actually.
Okay. One last question, Thomas. What advice would you give our podcast audience to get the most out of artificial intelligence for their own personal health?
Yeah, that's another good question, because obviously there are so many use cases for artificial intelligence. I think as a patient and as a consumer, I like the idea of personalized medicines very much. I believe that everybody is different and that everyone should receive the medication in his or her individual dose and strength. Remember, we have a gender research gap, for example, and that many medicines have been only clinically tested with men, but not women. And a prerequisite for this vision of personalized medicines is an assessment of the person's healthcare parameters. And we have seen huge progress over the last couple of years in the way how biomarkers are captured. Remember all the advances we have seen in miniaturizing sensors and how many people are wearing smartwatches already. And in parallel, we are also seeing advances in 3D printing of tablets, and the creation of personalized medicines will require the analysis of huge data sets, maybe even genome data in the future. And AI can help bring these two technologies together, the biomarker assessment on the one hand and the personalized production on the other hand. So hopefully this will advance our health and enable us to live a longer and healthier life, which I believe is the true mission of our self-care industry.
Definitely. Thank you, Thomas, for these very exciting insights into the application of AI to improve not only the performance of companies in the healthcare sector, but also our own health. Thanks for being with us today.
No problem. Thank you.
We at IGEPHA support the self-care industry in the efficient and targeted integration of AI tools into daily workflows. For example, a valuable AI guide that we recently made available to our members free of charge, containing helpful tips. If you would like your self-care company to benefit from this service or other advantages, please feel free to contact me. You can reach me by email at office@igepha.at, and I also welcome networking on LinkedIn. For today, I thank you for your interest and say goodbye until the next episode of IGEPHA im Gespräch.